I haven't made one of these in a very long time, and I thought while I was driving now that now will be a really good time to actually make one of them. And it's one of those let's rant videos. So I have to concentrate on the road, so I'm not going to look in the camera that much. But the topic that I actually want to talk about is ice baths. You see them a lot, and you also hear a lot of times people saying that you should take ice baths for recovery. And then you have research coming out that says that ice baths actually stunts, the hypertrophic growth and let's call it recovery on long-term muscle gain. And I just want to shed a little bit of light on the matter because it's not as complicated, or I don't think, in my perspective, it's as complicated as people trying to make it. Now, and don't quote me on this, but I think the research came out of the lab of Brad Schoenfeld. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But basically, the big reason why we want to shy away or stay away from ice baths after training is because the ice bath actually slows down the inflammatory process. Now, by first hearing this, you might think, oh, that's a good thing, inflammation's bad. Well, inflammation's not always bad because we do need a specific amount or a specific stimulus of inflammation in order for us to supercompensate or to recover from a workout and get stronger. So it's that the body will generally generate an inflammatory process after exercise. Obviously, some people need more, some people need less to have that inflammatory response, which will be in the muscle or in the blood, and then we adapt from it, we recover from it, and we get stronger and better. Now, remember that when we want muscle to grow, we have basically three stimuli or three mechanisms of hypertrophy. The first one's muscle damage. Okay, we want to have a certain amount of muscle damage. The second one is tension, mechanical tension, or mechanical stress. And then the third one is metabolic stress. I think I just dropped off there for a second. So when we take ice baths straight after, we slow down these responses. So when we're looking for long-term progress, so let's say we're doing 12 weeks or 18-week blocks of training, and we do regularly these ice baths, the research has actually shown us that we slow down the process of generating new muscle growth. And this can be, through forms of these three mechanisms, or it can also be in forms of protein synthesis in the muscle. Now, saying that, recently the CrossFit Games were on. Fantastic, by the way. Loving the new events. And you would see all the athletes taking ice baths straight after events or at the end of the night. Now, why is that? That's a question we need to ask. Why is that? Is it that they don't know that taking ice baths slow down recovery and muscle growth? Well, I shouldn't use the word recovery. I should use the word muscle growth. Or is there a specific reason they are actually taking it? I'm sure these athletes at the top tier where they're competing in are aware of most of these mechanisms, are aware of most of the science, because their coaches are the ones that research most of the stuff and then convey this information to them. One of the big they're actually doing phase in order for you to grow and supercompensate from at the games with fresh as possible for the next couple of events to come. So remember that, just think about it logically. When you apply cold temperature or ice to a specific area on the body, think about a heart. When they do heart surgery,
and they want to do a heart transplant, and they want to take the heart physically out. They stop the heart, and one of the methods that they do that is they pack ice around the heart, and then in order for the heart to slow down and physically stop. And they do this by packing ice around it because they want the metabolic processes of the heart to completely stop. And think about that. So now you can take that same analogy, and if you have an injury and let's say you sprained your ankle, back in the day they used to have the price method, which is totally outdated right now. Protection, rest, ice, compression, elevation, totally outdated. And even the person that came up with it admitted that he was wrong about the whole ice scenario, and the whole price thing is totally outdated, or right, they call it as well. So now when you have an injury, you don't want to go and ice it because you're actually slowing down the inflammatory process, and we want that inflammatory process in order to recover long term. When we apply ice, we stop the inflammatory process, which in return stops or slows down the response that we're actually looking for. Right. So I hope this helps a little bit. Sorry for the online offline thing, but I just wanted to kind of get this out there. And because I get a couple of messages on it, and I get remarks and comments sometimes at camps that I teach, that when people do get interested, put light on it. And I just wanted to shed a little bit of light on that. So if you guys like the video, leave a thumbs up for me, please. Check out explorethemovement.com. We have handstand programs, weightlifting programs, all sorts of exercise programs. If you want personalized coaching or anything like that with one of our coaches, get in touch. We'll be soon to get back to you. Other than that, have a great day. See you guys. Cheers.